I stood at the edge of my sister's promotion party, holding a glass of champagne I never drank, listening to her tell a room full of people about the one thing she thought made her better than me. Even Black Viper never scared me, she laughed. The room laughed with her. Glasses clinked. Someone patted her on the back, like she'd just said something brave. Nobody in that room knew that Black Viper was sitting 3 feet away from her, wearing a plain black dress, smiling politely, and saying absolutely nothing. Because Black Viper was me. And in about 30 seconds, one man in that room was going to figure that out, and everything was going to change. My name is Rachel West. My sister's name is Kayla. For as long as I can remember, Kayla was the daughter my parents bragged about at every dinner, every reunion, every holiday card. She joined the army 2 years after I did. She was loud about it. She posted every certificate, every course, every ribbon on social media with captions like, "Born for this." She finished top of her sniper course, and she never let anyone forget it, least of all me. I joined the army too, 6 years before her. But I never talked about my job. I couldn't. Most of what I did never had a name people were allowed to say out loud. I came home quiet, I stayed quiet, and my family filled that silence with their own story, that Kayla was the strong one, and I was just there. My parents never asked what I did overseas. Kayla never asked either. She just assumed that because I didn't talk about it, there was nothing to talk about. That night, at her promotion party, held in my parents' backyard with string lights and a rented tent, Kayla stood in front of 30 people, friends, family, and a few of her fellow officers, and gave a toast to herself. "To finishing top of my class," she said, raising her glass, "and to never letting anyone tell me I couldn't do something a man could do." Everyone cheered. I clapped too, because that's what you do for family, even when the ground under you feels a little unfair. Then she caught my eye. And she smiled the way she used to smile when we were kids, and she wanted to win an argument in front of an audience. "You know," Kayla said, turning slightly toward the crowd but clearly speaking to me. "During training, our instructors used to talk about this old call sign. Black Viper. Some legendary shooter. Real ghost story stuff. Guys would get nervous just hearing the name before a range day." She laughed, swirling her glass. "Honestly, even Black Viper never scared me." A few people chuckled, not really understanding the joke, just following her energy. My mother beamed at her like she'd just recited a poem. I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my face soft.
Calm.
The same face I used to keep for years when nobody knew what I actually did for a living. Because Black Viper wasn't a ghost story to me. It was the name printed on qualification records I signed. It was the name my unit used on operations I still can't fully talk about, even at a backyard party with string lights and lemonade. I could have said something right then. I could have stopped the whole party and told her the truth in one sentence. But I didn't. I never needed to prove anything to a room that already decided who the strong one was. I just smiled, sipped my drink, and let her have her moment. What I didn't expect was that someone else in that backyard already knew exactly who Black Viper was. To understand why that moment hit so hard, you have to understand what came before it. For years, my family treated my career like a rumor. When I came home on leave, dinner conversation was about Kayla's new certification, Kayla's new assignment, Kayla's new medal. When I tried to mention something, carefully, vaguely, the way we're trained to, my mother would change the subject to Kayla's dating life. Once, at Thanksgiving, my father introduced me to a family friend as our other daughter. "She's in the army too. Admin stuff, I think." I wasn't admin. I never corrected him. It felt easier to let the misunderstanding sit there than to explain something I legally couldn't fully explain anyway. Kayla fed off that gap. She built her identity as the real soldier of the family, on the empty space I left behind. And I let her, because I told myself it didn't matter what my family believed. I knew what I did. That was supposed to be enough. But standing in that backyard, hearing my own sister use my call sign as a punchline, in front of people who genuinely believed she was mocking a stranger, something in me finally understood how much that silence had cost me. Not the career. The career was fine. What it cost me was being known by my own family. I want to be honest with you. I didn't walk into that party planning payback. I wasn't waiting for a moment to expose her. I had genuinely made peace with staying quiet. But there's a difference between choosing silence and being erased by someone else's laughter. So I made a small decision, right there with the glass still in my hand. I decided that the next time someone asked me directly, I would answer honestly. No more vague deflection. No more letting my father call it admin stuff. I didn't have to wait long. Behind Kayla, near the drink table, stood a man in dress uniform I hadn't paid much attention to all night. Kayla had introduced him earlier as her battalion executive officer, a guest of honor for her promotion. I'd shaken his hand, said a polite hello, and moved on. What Kayla didn't know was that he had reviewed my old operational file 2 years earlier during a joint assignment review. He knew the name Black Viper, not as a legend, as a real service record with a real photo attached to it. And when Kayla laughed and said, "Even Black Viper never scared me," I saw his face change. He set his drink down slowly. His eyes moved from Kayla to me and back to Kayla. "Lieutenant," he said, using her rank in a tone that instantly killed the laughter in the group. "Do you know who you're talking to right now?" Kayla blinked. "What do you mean?" He walked past her, stopped in front of me, and did something I did not expect at a backyard party with string lights. He straightened his posture and gave a respectful nod, the kind reserved for someone senior, someone whose file you've actually read. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "it's an honor. I didn't expect to meet you outside of a briefing room." The backyard went silent. My mother's smile froze mid-sip. My father set his plate down like the food had suddenly lost his interest. Kayla's face shifted from confusion to disbelief. "Wait," she said slowly. "You know her?" "Everyone in my old unit knew the name Black Viper," he said. "We just didn't expect to find out she was your sister at a party." Kayla turned to me, her mouth slightly open, searching my face for a joke that wasn't coming. That's not real," she said. "That's just a story instructors tell recruits." "It's real," the officer said simply. "And she's standing right in front of you." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to because the truth was already doing all the work. I looked at Kayla and for the first time in years, I spoke plainly. "I never corrected anyone," I said. "Not you, not Mom, not Dad. I let this family believe whatever was easiest because I didn't think it mattered. Turns out, letting people believe a comfortable lie for years doesn't protect anyone. It just teaches them to keep saying things like that in front of the wrong person at the wrong time." My mother stepped forward, stunned. "Rachel, why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because every time I tried," I said gently. The conversation turned back to Kayla before I finished a sentence. Kayla didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, quietly, in front of everyone who had just watched her mock a name she didn't understand, she said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know." "I know you didn't," I said. That was kind of the point. I didn't destroy her night. I didn't need her promotion ruined to feel whole. I simply stopped disappearing. The party continued, a little quieter, a little more honest, and for the first time, people actually asked me questions instead of assuming the answers. Here's what that night taught me. Silence can look like humility, but sometimes it's just erasure that nobody's fighting against. I let my family build a story where my sister was the strong one, and I was the quiet one because I thought staying humble meant staying invisible. But you can be proud of what you've done without needing applause for it. And you can let people underestimate you for years, right up until the moment the truth simply introduces itself. Kayla and I are still sisters. We talk now differently than before. She asks questions instead of assuming answers, and I actually answer them. If there's one thing I'd want anyone watching this to take from my story, it's this. Don't spend years shrinking yourself just to keep the peace in a room. The people who truly respect you will still respect you when the truth finally stands up. And sometimes, the truth doesn't even have to raise its voice. It just has to stand there, quietly, until someone else recognizes it first.